Hello, and welcome to the Perspective Podcast. I'm Asher Jung, and I'll be your host for today's discussion, the assassination of the Archduke Franz Ferdinand. During the early 1910s, European countries competed fiercely and allied with one another to prevent war. Although established for security, these alliances were, in reality, a long line of dominoes leading to global conflict. In the Balkans, Serbian nationalists called for the establishment of a southern Slavic state that included Bosnia and Herzegovina. This was a territory inhabited by many Slavs and was under the control of Austria-Hungary. Within the states, a group of Serbian nationalists, hoping to be liberators, were set on assassinating a figure of royalty to start a revolution that would free Bosnia. It's the final step before revolution will fall, and Bosnia and Herzegovina will finally be free of Austria-Hungary and belong to Serbia. The Slavs of the south would all be united. The Black Hand had just given the lanky 19-year-old Gavrilo Princip a small rusty pistol that he barely knew how to use to kill the Archduke. All of their preparation had led up to this day. Unification or death, he remembers them all chanting before they dispersed and traveled separately here, Sarajevo. He was ready to be a hero. These thoughts flutter around Princip's mind as he stands within the huge mass awaiting Archduke Franz Ferdinand's caravan. The bright sun beats down on their heads, and Princip's back is to tall, looming buildings. On the other side of the street of Apokoi, a calm and peaceful river lies. The route had been scouted. Now Princip and his co-conspirators, or rather his co-heroes, wait for the Archduke's arrival. Peppered throughout the street, they will be ready for his appearance. Wait, what's that? Are those cheers for him? He is suddenly pulled out of his thoughts by the crowd that stirs to life. The odor of gasoline fills the air. The Archduke is coming. Suddenly, the sound of a blast in the distance, shrieks following closely on its coattails. One of his associates must have made an attempt on the Archduke's life, using one of the handheld bombs. Figures shuffle and shove past him in a frenzy. Is he really dead? Princip questioning the reality he had waited for. He can't see or hear any other bullets. No growls or roars of bombs making further attempts on the Archduke's life. The car flew past, and the foldable roof was up. Was he inside? Princip couldn't tell among the sea of heads in front of him. He hadn't had the chance to prove himself, but there's nothing left to be done, and the mission is complete. What he sought had come true, albeit without his input. So Princip trudges down the street, along the route that the Archduke was scheduled to drive down. Princip realizing that his chance will never come. He stares at the ground that he tramples over for a distance, until he turns a corner and finds one of his associates. "It is done," Princip bluntly comments. "That's not what I heard," his ally responds. Princip's eyes grow wide and his mouth falls open. And just as he thinks that he had finally grasped the situation, the crowd around him begins to murmur once again. The sea grows and floods in. The rumble of motors runs through the streets. Princip almost misses it, all out of shock. The tires on the automobile cry out. The car turns onto a street perpendicular to Apokwe before oddly stopping and reversing back onto the path from where it came. But Princip won't miss his opportunity. His legs all of a sudden feel weak, and his hands start to shake. He feels as though his legs will give out underneath him at any moment. The world darkens, and all he sees in his vision is the target, sitting in the back seat of the beast. The sounds of the busy street grow quiet. He lunges to the crowd and onto the street with his hand outstretching. 2 piercing shots ring out. They echo down the long hallway of buildings, as if the world around him is screaming out. More screams ring out, but to Princip's knowledge, they emanate not from his pistol, or the earth beneath him. Princip sees in the car the Archduke's wife. He hadn't been aiming for her. Her abdomen was struck, and her dress was stained with blood. Right next to her, the Archduke, a red shine beneath the shadow that his head cast onto his neck. The car speeds away with another shriek and footprints, marking its urgency. Suddenly, in Princip's vision, is the world rushing back in a dizzying blur. Looking down, he finds a small gun in his hand, as he turns it around and stares down into the black barrel. It was as if someone had punched him, perhaps because the people next to him tackle him to the ground before he can pull the trigger. "I'm a hero!" Princip cries out into the mass of people that have piled onto him. He can barely see anything other than the ground and the coats of those holding him down. His arms are bound behind his back by the cold bite of metal handcuffs, as he is shoved into a police car. He submits, welcoming his judgment with open arms. Only a month later, Princip, while in prison, would learn of the international war he had set off. The dominoes of alliances would all come tumbling down as nations came to the aid of one another. World War I would cause millions of casualties, and would go on to cause World War II. Those who won became wary of the nationalism that started the conflict. The losers would embrace this danger in desperation for glory. But for years to come, and even up to today, the world would be forever wary of unnecessary conflict in the name of blind loyalty. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to listen to the Perspective Podcast. Tune in next week to observe the state of the world after the devastation of this war that Gavrilo Princip started. Anyways, I hope you have a great week.